Yo, what's good? It's your man, 100 Grand Ross with The Rock Never Stops. Today I want to do this video about the Detroit Pistons. Who are you choosing at center if you had to choose today? Jalen Duren or James Wiseman? I want to dive into this because I feel like there's some real discrepancies in the evaluation of most Piston fans that I've been hearing about who should be getting the playing time, who should potentially be starting, who potentially is even the better player. So I want to dive into that in this video. If you enjoy it, smash the like button for me, hit subscribe and the bell for notifications. Let me just start off by saying, it's hard to develop talented big men. It's hard to develop big men, period. Right? And the Detroit Pistons are doing a remarkable job. Let me just say, the Detroit Pistons and Dwayne motherfucking Casey. He's probably one of the best developmental coaches that I've seen out there. And the Detroit Pistons have them, and they're reaping the dividends of that. Right now, they have recruited every big man that had talent that has not panned out that they could get their hands on. They tried to get Bol also, but they got Marvin Bagley. They got James Wiseman. They picked up Jalen Duren in the draft. They got this young cat, Amarui, who looks like a solid player, right? They still got Isaiah Stewart. I mean, they got every big man you can get your hands on. And each of them looks extremely talented. And that's a credit to Dwayne Casey and the Detroit Pistons and that staff. But when we're talking about who should be starting, who should be given the bulk of the minutes, this is where I think many times people allow their hearts to dictate instead of their eyes, instead of their head, instead of doing just a little bit of research. And so I want to dive into that in this video a little bit. First of all, if we look at these two prospects, James Wiseman and Jalen Duren, both out of the University of Memphis, extremely athletic, gifted big men who show remarkable touch around the rim. But there's some really significant differences between them that I want to point out for both of them that give them an argument, and you can decide who you prefer. But let me start off with Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren is that Dwight Howard type 7-footer. He's not quite 7 feet. He's really not even quite 6'11". More than likely, he's closer to 6'9", 6'10". But in shoes, he'll get up there to 6'10", close to 6'11", right? But the real thing that allows him to be elite as a big man at the center position is his wingspan and his strength and his athleticism. Those three things in combination allow him to be elite at his position. His strength, his athleticism, and his wingspan. Jalen Duren, I believe he has a 7'5" wingspan, has natural grown man strength, and he's got something close to a 35 to 40-inch vertical, extremely athletic, right? And this allows him to thrive, as we're seeing as a rookie, on the boards, as a rebounder, getting put back dunks, being able to outwork guys to get position for rebounds, and even block shots at times, right? And I would say that one of the designating skills that I would say that sets him apart from James Wiseman is probably his passing ability. Something I was pretty surprised at seeing. I knew he had pretty decent post footwork and touch around the rim. I saw that throughout college at the University of Memphis. I even saw it during summer league a little bit. But it was the passing that has really kind of stood out to me and has allowed me to see that this young man could potentially be the type of center that you can run offense through, not just for the sake of scoring, but could also play make for others. And so that's something I really want to point out that is really difficult to find in a center, but even more difficult when you're looking at his physical attributes, where you rarely get a defensive-minded big man who has the ability to be dominant on the boards, athletic, finishing above the rim, blocking shots, and play make with his passing ability. All right? Very rare combination. But now when we get to James Wiseman, and I want to be really clear. James Wiseman is a different type of athlete than Jalen Duren. Jalen Duren is what we call a vertical athlete. He excels in his vertical leap, getting above the rim, right? He jumps really high, right? But that's a different type of athleticism than what James Wiseman possesses. James Wiseman has a functional athleticism, meaning that he is able to run and move about on the court with a level of agility that is elite. He can get to his spots. He can move his body in an extremely high functional way that allows him to outplay most other bigs. The way he runs the court, we probably haven't seen a big man run the court like that since Giannis. Literally. Literally. He is a legit 7'1" center with about a 7'6" wingspan, if not longer. He has incredible touch around the rim, similar to Jalen Duren. All right. Really good post footwork, similar to Jalen Duren. But one of the things that sets him apart is not just that functional athleticism, which allows him to get out into transition, consistently outrunning bigs, and even sometimes other small forwards and wing players. But he also has shooting touch, meaning that that touch around the rim translates further away from the rim all the way out to the three-point line. This is what I believe sets him apart in an incredible way from not just Jalen Duren, but most of the league. His ability to face up and knock down 5, 10, 15, 20 foot, and even 23-foot jump shots beyond that three-point line consistently, where it looks confident, it looks smooth, and you can rely upon it to some extent. Right? This is what sets him apart. And when I look at the designating areas that separate these two big men, whether it's the passing or whether it's the shooting, I got to ask myself, well, what translates to a higher level of potential for these big men? Now, passing, let me say something that I was thinking about when I was trying to find a comparison for Jalen Duren is a player that came to mind that really some of you might resist at first. But for me, I think he compares highly to a more offensive, skilled Joakim Noah. Now, let me know what you think. Let me know. If I'm lying, I'm flying, I'm dying. You ain't got to buy it. All right. But I think he has a lot of the intangibles that you saw with a Joakim Noah, right? He doesn't quite have the same level of a motor, but his physicality, his playmaking, his passing ability, his defensive acumen, ability to swallow up rebounds, and also to be able to challenge at the rim, right? An amazing screen setter, which is a valuable skill in this guard-heavy, perimeter-oriented league, right? And his ability to clear out space with his body. I mean, Joakim Noah was doing these things in spades. There was even one year where he was an MVP candidate, along with being a Defensive Player of the Year. He was a cornerstone for the Chicago Bulls attempting to win the NBA championship. Now, whether Jalen Duren reaches that level, who knows? Who knows? But like I said, I almost forgot to mention this. James Wiseman, his shot blocking ability is a notch above Jalen Duren's. I'm not saying Jalen Duren doesn't have shot blocking ability, but I am saying that James Wiseman's is certainly a notch above it. He not only erases shots, but he intimidates shots to a degree where guys either don't even challenge him or he's constantly changing those shots by his presence. I haven't seen, and I've been watching. I got accused earlier of not really watching the games. I've been watching. Right? I've been going back and watching. Right? So I can watch these games carefully and see how these players do on the court. James Wiseman has a different level of shot blocking. It's clear. But it's to say, when I think about who is a potential ceiling for a player like James Wiseman, I can only really compare him to other superstar level players. I'm looking at the Joel Embiids. I'm looking at the Giannis Antetokounmpos. These are the guys that I'm looking at saying these two could potentially be prototypes for who Wiseman can become. So when I start thinking about who deserves the minutes and the time and the investment to try to make sure that you see what his potential is, for me, it's James Wiseman. It's not even close. It's not even close. Not to mention, James Wiseman only has this season and next season to prove what he can do to validate whether the Detroit Pistons should look to re-sign him, right? Whereas Jalen Duren is in his rookie year. He's got another 3 years for them to figure that out. And this is important because, remember, Jalen Duren is one of the youngest players in the NBA. He's barely 19 years old, which means he has time to develop. They don't need to thrust him into that starting lineup. They don't need for him to get thrust into the fire to try to figure everything out. Right now, he has the ability to take his time and develop, to focus on his footwork, especially when it comes to post footwork, pick and roll footwork, his ability to move his feet on the perimeter and not pick up little ticky-tack fouls. A lot of the little things that sometimes get overlooked when you look at his stats is those small areas that make a major difference, especially when you're in a starting lineup. All right. And so for me, when I look at James Wiseman and his potential and what he's showing us just in this limited amount of time, remember, he came to the Detroit Pistons having played less minutes than Jalen Duren had as a rookie. And Wiseman is in his third season. So Wiseman not only deserves the playing time, but there's a higher need for the Detroit Pistons to see what he has. And so when we think about who should be starting, who should be getting the bulk of the playing time, it's still Wiseman all day. And when you think about Cade Cunningham coming back next year and whoever they get in the draft, having James Wiseman's talent does something completely different in terms of the outlook of this team. But as always, I want to know what you all think. This video is a little bit long, so appreciate it if you stayed with me to the end. Smash the like button for me. Subscribe, hit the bell for notifications, and get at me in the comment section. You know I definitely respond. I'll let y'all next time. Peace.